I know you guys know what a legacy is, but I'm going to use the word brand because I think it's a little bit more meaningful at your age. And a brand, Coke versus Pepsi is a brand. And if you love a cola, you typically love Coke, Diet Coke, you love Pepsi or Pepsi. You don't love them both. But if you go to a Taco Bell, as you know, you can't get probably a Coke product because it's a Pepsi house. And if you love cola enough, you'll have that Pepsi or that Diet Pepsi. Those are unique brands. Powerade versus Gatorade. Each one of you guys are here with a unique brand, but you've got similarities in your brand. I don't care if you're from the south side of Atlanta or here in Cobb County. Right now, you're all high school football players trying to compete 7-on-7. You're trying to get bigger, faster, stronger in this summer. But after that, your brand starts to separate. You all have a unique brand. So when I go and talk, I like to lead in with a quote by a comedian named Steve Martin. He's older, you guys probably don't know him. That quote is, "Be so good, you can't be ignored." I want you to think about that for a minute. Be so good, you can't be ignored. Too much of society today is focused on the bad things. Look what's going on at Baylor football right now. And the coach that just got fired because he wasn't doing his job. And ladies got hurt. You guys are at a precious age where your decisions matter. Philip made wonderful decisions throughout his life. He was a 3-time All-SEC academic performer. Like Cam, Philip was the MVP of Auburn football his junior year, so they've got some similarities. Philip had a chance to go on to the NFL and it didn't work out because of some injuries. But then there came a day where he had some decisions to make because he was invited to a farm. And Philip wasn't known to be a partier. He was 23 years old, so he was of legal drinking age. When I go talk across the country, the reality of it is 22% of you kids sitting in the stands have already decided alcohol is going to play a role in your life. My whole goal when I go and talk to kids your age is to talk about the game of life. And if you think about that quote, "Be so good you can't be ignored," I think we're all put on this earth and we're good. But I'm going to challenge you to know the difference between good and great. See, because Friday, Philip got an invite 2 years ago on June 27th to go to a farm in LaGrange. And he was going to do some things he hadn't done in his life. He was going to ride a horse, and he was going to go muddy. They said, "Bring what you want to bring for the weekend, Phil, because we're going to arrive at 9 o'clock Saturday morning, and we're not leaving until 5 o'clock Sunday." And I know my son like the back of my hand. He was going to park his truck there at 9:30 or 9 o'clock Saturday morning, and that truck wasn't going to move until 5 o'clock. And they said, "Bring what you want to eat and drink for the weekend." Phil made a little money in the NFL. So I learned that he bought 13 steaks, one for everybody plus himself. And they said, "Bring what you want to drink." Wasn't known to be a big drinker, but I imagine he brought a case of beer. He was 23. He was legal. And there's 4 key things that I've learned that transpired from some point that Saturday morning through early morning that Sunday. The first thing is they were all good friends because they partied. They partied in the late morning. And you guys probably all know, because it's pounded into your head in high school, hopefully your families, underage drinking's illegal, and .08, you're considered legally intoxicated. ESPN reported Philip's BAC about 8 weeks after he passed away, his blood alcohol content level. And it wasn't .08. It wasn't .16. It was an astronomical number. It was .377. See, but I believe Philip was a good friend that night. Because when a chance to make the decision of, have I had enough, do I stop, he went with, no, I'm going to have another one. And let me be very candid and clear. Nobody forced my son that day to do anything. He chose the route that he took that day when it came to drinking. And he had several friends that drank too much. And they were good friends, because that's what we do. In life, we're good friends. And I'm going to challenge you on that in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Because that poor decision led to 3 other poor decisions, which at 2 in the morning they got into an SUV and decided to go get a can of dip because one of his buddies liked to chew and he was out of dip at 2 in the morning. That's what good friends do. They go out after midnight. Your age. You shouldn't be out after midnight driving. I don't need to live in your community. I know there's nothing safe on the roads after midnight for you guys. You just simply don't have the experience to be driving after those hours. But see, what good friends do, they say, I've got the keys, let's go. The good friends get in the car and say, let's go. Come on, man, let's do it. We're going out for legitimate reasons. McDonald's open 24/7. We just want to go get a burger. The problem is you can't handle what's on the road after midnight because you're not experienced enough in driving. And the one thing I know you can't handle is a drunk driver that's out after midnight. But see, good friends just go for the ride because you don't have the courage to stand up and say, we're not going to do it. That night in LaGrange, Philip and his friends were good friends because nobody stood up and said enough is enough. Nobody took the keys and hid it and didn't allow them to go out. And now they're out on the road. The driver had drank. And then they were caught. They weren't caught, I'm sorry, they were found. And what the report came through was they were driving 77 and a 55. But again, good friends, they show off to one another. How fast can I get that truck going? Mom or dad's car. A good friend gets in, even if you're scared of how fast your friend's driving, doesn't have the courage to say, hey, stop. But I'm a man of faith, and I know there's many people here that have faith. If you're a man of faith, you say to your friend, hey, slow down. Or let me out. And I'm going to pray that you get to where you're going safely. Because that's what good friends do. But then the next element was the accident report I had to read. And on page 8, it's one topic, the path of the vehicle. A 2006 Chevy Tahoe, one of the heaviest vehicles you can drive, and it didn't stop at its resting spot because it hit a ravine, a shallow ravine. I haven't been there because I don't have the heart to go see it. But the black box said they were going 77 and a 55 because the driver never hit the brakes. He missed a stop sign. And then that big SUV flipped back end over the front end, and it didn't stop at that point. It stopped 450 feet later after it rolled over its side and its top and the other side and its bottom. And if you follow my son, I challenge you to go Google Philip, see what he did on the football field and did off the field. You'll find many things about Philip. One thing you won't find, though, is his favorite character in life was Woody from Toy Story. He actually dressed up Cam's senior year, went to a Halloween party, team party, dressed as Woody. 6'4", 255. Found a Woody costume. But see, Philip is a stick figure. Because Philip wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Like 44% of your age group don't wear seatbelts. You think about that, 44%. And why? I've heard it, wrinkles my shirt. There was 4 of us in the back seat, there's only 3 seatbelts. Let me tell you something, 2 of you double buckling is safer than not wearing seatbelts. Mr. Lutz, it's safer in the back seat. Some kids don't listen when I talk. See, Philip was in the back seat behind the driver. And Philip was found 15 feet from the vehicle with his name on a stick figure. And I know you all know what a stick figure is. And in 3 little letters they use in the state of Georgia, DOA for dead on arrival. He was killed. And the driver was a stick figure. He was bent over, laying outside an open driver's door because he didn't wear a seatbelt. See, 3 of the 4 kids didn't wear seatbelts, and you guys know it. You form habits in life, whether good and bad. An easy, great habit is to reach to your right shoulder and come down to your left hip, or reach to your left shoulder, come down to your right hip, right shoulder, left hip. Hear a click and you wear a seatbelt. Statistically, seatbelts save lives. See, but a good friend gets in the car, drives away, and doesn't worry about whether his friends are wearing seatbelts, even if he or she's wearing a seatbelt. You guys as good friends get in, and you don't wear your seatbelt. You may wear it, but you don't worry about everybody else, because that's what good friends do. We're in a hurry. We don't want to challenge one another. Well, let me give you some closing comments. You're going to compete here on the field. Many of you are going to be good players. You're going to taunt your opponent. You're going to maybe celebrate with your own team, maybe say a few words out there. You're going to knock a guy down even though it's 7-on-7. You're not going to help him up. Because that's what good players do. Good teammates. A good teammate is not even going to recognize the guys that came all the way up here, have all the expectations of the coaches to put all the same time in the weight room, be on time, show up, but he may never get the glory, and a good team doesn't recognize that teammate. See, but I'm going to challenge the quote, be so good they can't ignore you, with my own quote. And it's be so great they can count on you. Because let me give you, I think, a couple differences between good and great. See, Philip, had he been great that weekend, would have recognized, I've had enough, I'm done. And you know what? Carla and Steve and John, Kendall, you've had enough, you're done. Or his friends would have stood up and said, you're done, Lutz. I don't care how big, how famous you are, how many times you were on ESPN, you're done. Because that's what great friends do. A great friend would have said, we're not getting in that car. We're staying right here. We've been drinking. At the high school level, a great friend says, I know you're drinking, man, you got to stop. You could hurt somebody. If you get caught, you're not going to be a part of this team. That's what a great friend does. A great friend gets in their car and says, I know we're in a hurry, but buckle your seatbelt. Remember that old guy that came and talked to us at North Cobb? His son didn't wear a seatbelt, and now he's dead. You got to ask yourself, am I good or am I great? And maybe Cam will reference it when he talks and tell you a little bit about Philip and the character and the community service he did and what type of teammate he was. Because I do know this for a fact. Being the father who's lost his only son, I'm blessed with 3 daughters, I've lost my best friend. I don't care if you're from Creekside, Creekview, North Cobb, Grady, you're white, you're black, you're the best player out on this field, you're the worst player. You're a 4.0 student, you're a 2.0. You've already committed to go play at Auburn, you're not going to go play college football. When you have a series of poor decisions in a compressed time frame, there's no discrimination. None. And Philip's that example. Philip's become an icon down at Auburn because of the way he carried himself off the field, because he catches football.